Hello, good evening, and welcome back. Social care reform needed within a year, according to the NHS England boss, Sir Simon Stevens. Sir Simon Stevens. Let's not get that confused too much with the health service compared to the social care. They can tend to be conflated, as they will go on to and combine the two, but we'll try and keep them as separate as they wish to. So, they've said there are plans to adequately fund the social care sector. They need to be in place within a year, the head of NHS England, Sir Simon Stevens, has said. He said the COVID-19 crisis had shone a very harsh spotlight on the resilience of the care system. There was a need to decisively answer how high-quality care could be provided long-term. The Department of Health said it would bring forward a plan for reform, because in the 2019 election manifesto, the Conservatives pledged to find a cross-party solution to reduce pressures on the sector and provide long-term funding. So, there are two easy fixes here, and they almost allude to it later on. The first is immigration, or stop it, basically. Because the main reason for immigration, as championed by Tony Blair, of course, was to say, okay, we've got low-skilled jobs. We want to push our young people into university. Therefore, because he wanted 50% of people to go to university, so we need those low-skilled jobs to be filled by some people. We don't want our people to be doing it, in which case, we need someone to do it. Where are we going to get them from? Well, why don't we entice foreign people to come over here, get those low-paying jobs, which for them are high-paying, and in doing so, we can consecrate a far better voting bloc for us. That was the two-pronged attack. Because of that, of course, by inviting people over and their families on low-skilled promises that you now, of course, have people who haven't assimilated. Perhaps they can't assimilate because if they're over for low-skilled jobs, then you can't expect them to be high-functioning, in which case they're not going to be very good at learning a new language, especially later in life. They're not going to want to because it isn't in line with the promises they were told, in which case they're then trying to get those jobs. Their families, of course, are much the same. They'll take advantage of the system as the I suppose, cultural leaders of their cultures within England or the United Kingdom are saying, so hey, if maybe you're working but your wife isn't, or your children are at home and they're not working, then you can take advantage of the social care as well. And the same, of course, goes for healthcare. You can take advantage of that. Come on over. It's very good. You can take advantage of the white man's burden. Go ahead. And in doing so, of course, passing the tax onto the indigenous folk of England or the higher performing immigrants who have moved to the United Kingdom. So that's a one. The second is to try and get it more to a community base. That it tends to be religious people who are also more right-wing, so it's up to you which one you wish to pick, but religious people and right-wingers, maybe there's a lot of overlap there, tend to donate more to charity. They wish to help their community. They like to know where their money is going and they support those causes. In fact, the Islamic population within the United Kingdom does fund a lot of charitable work. There is no denying that. The only issue with that, which proves the lack of assimilation, is that the vast majority of it goes overseas to Islamic countries. So there's a slight problem there. If somebody decides to come over thinking, United Kingdom is a great place to be for my family as well. I understand it'll be difficult. I understand I've got to do well, but I want what's best for my family. I want them to have a great start. I think I'm going to move here. I'm going to be providing these skills, which there is a niche for, and in doing so, I'm going to be providing a great value, a great service, and will be rewarded handsomely for it on a six-figure income, let's say, and in doing so, can support their entire family who lives with them as well, then fair enough. Fair enough. They are not coming over to just take a kind of parasitic nature, but instead they're saying, hey, I'm going to give you my skills, my intelligence, my services, and in doing so, I want to be rewarded for it. And from the reward you give me, that's going to take care of my family. Fair enough. We've talked quite a bit on the channel before about being a net contributor, meaning you have to be earning over £32,000 a year, and that would fit into that criteria. So yes, fair enough. But of course, that is not what we're seeing. And that's the problem. And the way that they do kind of allude to it later on is just to say that with the social care services, the costs, they say that unlike healthcare, social care is not generally provided for free. In England, anyone with assets over £23,250 is expected to pay for some or all of their costs, leading to the prospect of some having to sell their homes to pay for care. And this kind of thing is exactly the same as marginal tax rates, which is to say that you're disincentivizing higher income earning. That I know of quite a few people who are on the cusp of £50,000 a year, which is a decent income by all means, but they don't really want to try and put in the extra effort to earn 60,000, knowing that 40% of that and national insurance will be taken on that. So they'll be left with just over half, and at that point it's diminishing returns. They don't want to go for it. You'll have some people who are mad and wish to work more for the status, basically, and the money is secondary, in which case they'll skip over the tax bracket, not really caring about it, and of course then move on to the even higher tax brackets, and from then on it's basically free reign. But for a lot of people who are thinking, well, I would like a life, and the career is only one aspect of that, I'm going to stop at the £50,000 a year mark, if they can get there. And therefore, when you're saying here, with assets over £23,250, whenever you set these bars, as arbitrary or as reasonable as they might be, you will have a lot of people who go, well, then I don't want to do things to go above that level. And this is why community is so much better than government mandate. Because you might say, yes, but that's a reasonable amount. And if people really can't have any more assets than £23,250, you cannot expect them to pay for it, or to be able to find a job or to find money in order to pay for it. And we have a duty to take care of them. Let's say, yeah, sure, that's correct, fine. But you'll have other people who aren't that way and don't want to put in the effort in order to make their own way in life, and would rather have other people support them. And you can't tell. Just at the figures, all you're told is assets, £23,249. Do we give them for free? So, yes, because that is the law. Whereas on a community level, you get to understand the person. And therefore, instead of taking taxes that people don't really know where their money is going, they can say, yeah, I know them. Yeah, poor John. He seems to have fallen on hard times. Wife's left him because she's run off with somebody else. Not his fault. She's taken the house with her, and he's not really left with anything. Oh, bloody hell! Yeah. We should definitely support him and help him, give him a place to stay, give him some food, whatever, to get him back on his feet. And we want to help him out, and we know that he's much better than the situation he's currently in. By all means. Maybe John continues that way for 5 years, and then patience is beginning to run thin, and saying, well, John, you really need to get your act together, mate, because at this point, we've given as much as we can. It doesn't seem like you're making a change. I'm not going to be funding this for you just to piss it up the wall. And then, of course, the contributions are lessened, and then he can decide, well, oh, shit, okay, maybe I do actually need to do something again. Or decide, no, I'd rather be a hermit. I want to lock myself away from the world. I'd rather sleep on the streets or go live in the hills. Whatever you want to do, fair enough. But at least then, it comes down to a community point. So in the beginning, you get the warm feeling of knowing you're helping somebody in need who needs it. In the end, you understand your money is not being taken from you to be given to people that you don't want to support or spent on projects you don't want to support. Again, it comes down to the individual. And that's also why I mention that the right wingers, the people who are calling for less tax, fewer regulations as well, are the same people who give more charitable donations because they like to know where their money is going and they do like to be able to support people. It really is as simple as that. So, if we go down that route to try and get it more to the individual communities, then you will see a definite change. You will, of course, see then, oh, these people aren't helping, I'm going to go somewhere else where those people will help. And if that might be the case until, of course, those people get bored of having new people coming in and don't wish to support them anymore, which is exactly what we're seeing in the United Kingdom as a whole. Overall, people aren't wishing to support people who don't wish to contribute. And therefore, it's then a political movement instead of a local movement to say, no, I'd really rather not. But just to wrap up, they do mention the National Health Service supposedly being a great legacy being left after the Second World War. So, as they say here, I do apologise, that they've got the founder of the NHS, from the Beveridge report, did not use that as a moment to hesitate after the Second World War, where the country was at the point on austerity and rationing for bread and potatoes. They instead said, let one of the legacies of the war be the creation of the NHS. And that's the same legacy we need for long-term care support and social care coming out of coronavirus. Now, bear in mind that, of course, Churchill at the time did not support this, but there was too much social backing to it, too much bribery for the voters, essentially, because we see what that's become and how it really doesn't work as it's trying to be implemented. Because, of course, as soon as it was implemented, it's like, yes, it's a follow-on from the war and we should have a much better, loving and understanding society, but trying to dictate that from the government just won't work. And so the idea there is, that's fine. We only have a few older people, and of course then the baby boomers are coming in as well, in which case they can support the older people and we'll be fine. Until, of course, the baby boomers then, of course, get to their old age and they need the support and there aren't enough people in order to support them. It's very straightforward. So this Ponzi scheme, which is legal just because the government is doing it, is collapsing and we're all realising it. And on that happy note, until next time, as always, have a good one.